This is a short 45-minute session that we're going to discuss some guitar sounds and how to create some various guitar sounds in the software using some various software modelers that we have. So I'm working in a Cubase, but you can of course work in any DAW software or any recording software for that matter. And for the beginning of the chat, I'm going to just add an audio track and put it to stereo. And this is our first track, and I'm going to call it Clean 1. Okay? And today we're going to talk about several different types of guitar tones. First is clean, second is crunch, third is high gain rhythm, and I'm using an electric guitar. It's a Stratocaster, it has 2 single coil pickups and 1 humbucker in the bridge. So I'm going to use this. Feel free to use any guitar you have. Okay, for the beginning, let's do this. Let's just turn monitoring on and hear how this guitar sounds on its own, right? Right, and I will now start with the modeling, and let's see what we can do. We can choose edit channel settings here in Cubase. In different programs you will choose some insert effects, and here we have the inserts in Cubase. I'm going to choose some type of software modeler. Any of the software modelers you have will be good. It doesn't really matter what modeler you have. They're all basically, not to say the same, but very similar in what they do, right? If you know how to use them. Okay, I'm going to choose a vintage amp room here. It has, like you can see here, a Marshall, has a Fender amp, and it has a Vox amp. So from these amps, I always end up using this this Fender amp the most. Increase treble and middle a bit, and decrease bass and turn off the vibrato. Now, if I play something with this channel, which has this vintage amp room inserted, it sounds like this. Okay, something like that. I'm going to add another channel, add audio track. This time it's a mono track, and I'm going to call it Clean DI. So let's hear it now. This is the regular guitar signal, as if it is going through a DI unit. Now on this channel, I'm not going to place any software modelers, but instead I'm going to insert some compression, and I have here very nice compressor from the same company that made Vintage Amp Room. It's a soft tube, and I'm going to place some compression on it. You can choose from the presets. You can of course use any type of compressor, and let's see how this sounds. Okay, some mild compression here. So on this channel, this Clean DI channel, we have some compression on, and the second thing I'm going to do is do some basic EQing. I'm going to roll off the low end. I'm going to increase the high end a bit, like this, and these frequencies here. So now, here we have a little bit more glassy guitar tone. Right. So if you're using Clean, just remember to do this and use another track of DI. So now turning back to our first track that sounds like this. For this track we can maybe narrow down the frequencies a bit, like this. And now I can insert some reverb on it. So you can use the stock reverb from Cubase or any other software that you use, but I'm going to use a spring reverb again from Softube. It emulates the spring reverb from the amp or standalone unit and sounds pretty cool, okay? So any type of reverb will be fine, basically, just to add an impression that this sound is a bit more off. It's not so in your face, it's a more distant guitar sound. So sounds like this, right? Okay, now what I'm going to do is turn on this one. It sounds like this, the clean one, and the clean DI sounds like this. So when we combine these two, it will sound something like something like this. So this creates a more glassy, clean guitar tone that is pretty usable, and let's record it so we can level this up. Okay, here we have a little piece of recorded guitar. And now if we turn off the monitoring and click, and if we play it, it sounds something like this. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go into the mixer . And you can see now that this is the clean one and this is the clean DI, and you can see that the clean DI, probably because of this compressor, is a bit more louder. So what I'm going to do is increase the reverb a bit on the clean one, place it a little bit to the left, like 60% to the left, and place this DI channel 30% to the right. Now if I play them, they will sound like this. Okay, now this is what I was talking about. We got a more interesting glassy tone from this clean sound, and believe me, this is the tone that will definitely find its place in the mix. If we take only the software model, it sounds like this. Right? If we add this definition, sounds cool. But if we use only the definition, it sounds good, but you can really feel that there's no warmth in the tone. It's a direct input without the amp. So adding just a little bit of the amp and the spring reverb really colors the sound nicely and give its definition. Very nice. Okay. Now this is the clean thing, and I'm going to just mute these two channels and create another one, which will be a stereo channel or just a mono channel for now, and I'm going to call it Crunch. Crunch left, and create another one which will be called crunch right. Okay, now as for the crunch sounds, I'm going to just take a very traditional approach and use low gain, and let's see what we can do. On the first channel I'm going to add vintage amp room, and this is the Marshall. Let's use the Marshall, and it sounds like this on the humbucker. This is one tone that we're going to use, and this crunch channel is going on the left speaker. This channel is going on the right speaker, and as an insert I'm not going to use the vintage amp room. I'm going to use a different software modeler. And why I'm doing this? Well, it's because I want a more richer harmonic content, which these two different software models will provide instead of using only one. They generate different frequencies. So we can use maybe metal amp room for this one and use some crunch classic rock preset. Not going to bother now with the presets, but let's hear how this particular sound. Remember, this is the right speaker. When I turn on both of these, they will sound like this. It sounds okay, but you can hear that the right channel is scooped, and let's try to fix this, right? The left channel, I'm leveling out the channels first, like this. So they're leveled in loudness. I'm going to just EQ this channel, increase the mids a bit. So let's hear it now. Sounds okay, right? And of course, when you want to place these two guitars in the mix, you should definitely narrow them down like this, and especially watch out for the 200-250 region, because it can create a muddy sound. And on this channel I'm going to do something similar, like this. Okay. Maybe this is too much. Increasing the bass a little bit more on both channels. Okay, this sounds cool, and what I'm going to do now is try to record something. First on this channel and then on the next one. So are we ready? We're ready. Let's try to record something. Okay, and recording the same thing on the next channel. Okay, now the advantages of recording two separate hands is they're slightly different from each other, and they're very cool for stereo sound. So let's hear how these two sound. Very cool, very natural sound. And of course you can use any software modeler that you have. Of course you can always duplicate these tracks like I did right now. I'm going to label the originals with yellow color and label these two duplicates with this purple color. So let's record another set of these hands, for example on this one. Okay, and what I did here is just recorded the root notes instead of whole power chords. Okay, now I recorded only the roots, which will add nicely to that sound and make it more fuller, so let's hear it. Now if you hear only the root notes, they sound like this. Like that. And of course you can always create a little bit more different settings on these, play with the settings a bit, add a bit more bass. Something like this. And just use slightly different settings on all to create more richer harmonic content, like I said. So now if you play them, they will sound like so you cannot hear the root notes basically, but all played together they sound really nice. So this is the advantage of double tracking the crunch rhythm. Okay, now I'm transferring to the high gain tones. Let's create the mono track now, and this is very similar to work in the Real Studio, creating a mono track and using the microphone. I'm going to call this high gain left. And of course we will use the high gain right as well. For this track I'm adding metal amp room, and let's choose some preset. Of course you can create your own preset. Let's hear how this sounds. Turn on the monitoring on this channel. Often you will see people using a booster. It creates more tighter sound, and why is that? It's because there are more bass frequencies in the sound, in the original sound, than if you were using the tube screamer, which cuts off some of the frequencies. So what I'm going to do now is put no effects on this channel, and I'm going to do some bass roll off on this channel, like this. Some gentle bass roll off. And now I'm going to create an FX track which has metal amp room inserted, and again using this preset that I used before, and I'm going to call this one a high gain L as well. So I'm going to send this track to high gain and turn this to 0, and when you turn it on you can hear it like so. The thing is, we're going to use this roll off to tame the bass on this metal amp. So as opposed to this. We get a more tighter sound if we roll off the bass like this, and we send that clean signal with the roll off bass to the high gain. Now I'm going to create another track, high gain right, and I'm going to create another FX track which has, again, we can use the Metal Amp Room but some different settings, or we can just use a, let's try TH2. Some metal, and we call it high gain right, and I'm going to send this channel to the right channel. And now if we hear this one, this is the right channel, both left and right. And let's record something. Okay, and on the next channel as well. And now if we play these two together, sounds okay. So in order to tame high gain, in order to make it more tighter, more modern sounding, you should do a bass roll off before you go into these amps. And you can of course increase the volume a bit as well when you send it, like this. And of course, in the end, you should definitely use less gain than in live situations when you're recording something. So, less gain. Always turn down the gain a bit. And it will come out defined and clean in the mix. Okay, these are the 3 examples that I wanted to show you today. Clean, crunch, and high gain. So I hope you had some fun, and I'll see you with some more tips on audio production video chat number 3, which will be next week. So bye, and thanks for watching.